Welcome to Knife Chats. If you like this video, please take a moment to leave a comment. Thank you. Welcome back to another episode on the Colonial Swiss Master series of knives. Now, for those who are not familiar, the Swiss Master series is a series of knives that Colonial produced back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that were designed specifically to capitalize off of the popularity of the Victorinox and Wenger Swiss Army knives. Like Swiss Army knives, such as this, the knives feature a red plastic scale with a cross and a shield. The difference is the Colonial knives ended up settling on a cross of Lorraine inside a federal shield. Now, Colonial made several knives with the red handles and the cross of Lorraine on them, and they're all considered Swiss Master Series knives, and were probably marketed in the Swiss Master Series at one time or another. But 4 knives seem to have been in the series from the beginning, from the 70s, 80s, all the way up to the demise of the series in the 90s, and that's these 4 here. The Executive, the little slimline one, the 2-blade penknife, the Sportsman, which is the basically your scout knife, and then your little hobo knife, which was the Super Camper, and then finally the one that most people seem to really like to get a hold of, which is the Mountain Guide. And this one is kind of unique because I don't know if they used it for many other things other than the Swiss Master series. I believe it was actually designed for the Swiss Master series and then ended up being used for other productions such as advertisements and stuff like that. But I believe the Mountain Guide was actually designed for the Swiss Master series. Now, like the Super Camper, the Mountain Guide really doesn't have a match in the Victorinox line. There might have been a knife in the line that at one time had a really big hawkbill blade like this, and I think Wenger also made a knife with a big hawkbill blade, but it was really nothing quite like this. The thing that really makes it a Swiss Army style knife is the red handle and the cross on here. The blades that you have on it are basically a punch or reamer, a sheepfoot blade. This is at least on the older one, you have a sheepfoot blade. And then the center line hawkbill blade, which is marked high carbon. These knives, the high carbon in it is still just 420 stainless steel. So it's really not any kind of like carbon steel, it's the stainless steel. And then you have also in the front here, you have a corkscrew and then a removable bail. On the back side where it says Mountain Guide on this one, you have your can opener, which is your safety style can opener, and then a cap lifter screwdriver, and then your main Spearmaster blade. So that's the Mountain Guide, and this is one of those knives that a lot of people really enjoy to collect. I've got quite a few of them, and I really do like the Mountain Guide, and it's mainly because of that big hawkbill blade. Now later on, the Mountain Guide changes a little bit. Now the changes are minor, but it involves 2 of the blades up front, and if you notice also, now it says Mountain Guide on the front of the knife. Notice on the older version, it says Mountain Guide on the back of the knife. Okay, the 2 blades that change are also on the front side of the knife. The reamer that you originally had has been changed into this new style reamer, which is kind of like a half of a sheepfoot blade. It is very sharp, and you can kind of use it as a reamer, but I don't find it pointy enough to make a really good reamer. But it is a good cutter. And the other blade that you end up with is, instead of that sheepfoot blade, which I really did like, you end up with a pin blade for the secondary blade here. And I believe also you will see now it just says Colonial Providence USA on the on the Hawkbill blade. They're no longer saying it's high carbon because it never really was high carbon steel. So that's the difference between the older mountain guide and the new mountain guide. So if you're looking for one from the like the 1990s, you'll find it like this. If you find the older ones, you'll see the old style reamer or punch blade, which is the one that has the angle on it. I wish they would have kept the old blades on the new ones, but that's what happens. Like I mentioned, the knives have 420 stainless steel on the blades, and any of the Swiss Master series knives that you see that have exposed rivets, that's going to be the case with the steel. Doesn't matter if it was made in the 1970s or the 1990s. If they have exposed rivets, they're 420 stainless steel. Of all the knives in the Swiss Master series that I like the most, it's probably this one, the Mountain Guide. I like the name of it. I like the big hawkbill blade. I do like the blades that show up on the older ones better. The reamer is a nicer reamer, and you've got that sheepfoot blade, which is pretty cool, even though I would love it if they had the old style reamer with a pin blade. That would make it even better, because then I would see multiple choices of a mountain guide. Is there any other knife out there that is similar to the mountain guide? Yes, but like I said, it's not in the Victorinox series. Where you're going to find a knife similar to the mountain guide will be in the Matterhorn series by Imperial, and this is exactly the same knife with the exception of a slightly different blade. Hold on a second, I'll open this puppy up. What you have in the Matterhorn is a reamer, and instead of a sheepfoot or pin blade, you have a kind of a modified spay blade, and then you have your hawkbill blade, and on the other side you have again a Spearmaster, as you see here, Imperial, Prague, Rhode Island, USA, and then you have the safety can opener. Like I said, I just opened this one up, so it's a little oily, and then a cap lifter screwdriver. So with the exception of this one blade, the spay blade, it has the same blades. The Matterhorn has a better finish to it. For one thing, no exposed rivets. It costs probably a little bit more, but that's the only knife that is really similar to it. I mean, it is an exact copy. I don't know who came out with it first. I don't know if Imperial came out with it first or if Colonial came out with it first, but basically same knife, different company. So that pretty much sums up the big four of the Colonial Swiss Master series. You've seen the Executive, the Sportsman, the Super Camper, and the Mountain Guide. There are still a few more knives in the Swiss Master series that I will be introducing, and I'll show you those in the next video, and that'll pretty much wrap it up. So just to go over the basic specifications, the Mountain Guide is 3 3/4 inches long. It has 5 layers, making it 13/16 of an inch thick. The knife is similar to the Victorinox Spartan, except that it has an additional blade, which is a large hawkbill blade, which is mounted into the center of the frame of the Mountain Guide. The hawkbill blade is 2.5 inches long with a 2 1/4 inch long cutting edge. Other blades include a cap lifter screwdriver, a reamer or punch, a Spearmaster blade, a sheepfoot blade on the older one, and a can opener, plus a corkscrew which is mounted on the rear, and then a removable shackle or bail. Later models have Mountain Guide on the front side of the knife, whereas the earlier ones have Mountain Guide written on the back side of the knife. And finally, the last ones made replaced the earlier angle reamer with a sheepfoot style reamer and replaced the sheepfoot blade with a pen blade. And finally, the Mountain Guide was the fourth knife in the Swiss Master series that tended to have a name stamped on them, starting with the Executive, then the Sportsman, the Super Camper, and finally Mountain Guide. The Mountain Guide was the 7-tool knife. All of these knives feature 420 stainless steel blades, a plastic riveted handle, and stainless steel liners and spacers. And as Colonial has explained, the ones that have the rivets exposed in the handles were part of an economy line of knives. They also had some that did not have rivets exposed, and we'll be talking about those in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Knife Chats, and if you did, please like and share it with your friends. Comments are always welcome. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode of Knife Chats is up online. Thanks again. Hope to see you soon.